Hello, my name is Hannah. I was born in Angola. One of my favorite places to go on holidays is Portugal because I love everything about Portugal. I like the food, the people, the weather. I like also busy environments, busy places, for example, airports, shopping centers. I think that's why I like Britain, because everybody rushes and nobody likes to be late. I had my parents as a marriage role model. I grew up seeing them always together, happy, caring, loving, providing for the family. And also they used to provide huge birthday parties for me and my sisters. That's what I most remember from my childhood. One of the most painful moments in my life was when my parents decided to separate. It was really hard for me and my family. And also, I just stopped believing in real love, the one that I used to see my parents and I used to see in movies, like, people caring, loving and sacrificing for each other. I was not believing anymore. In my past relationship, things didn't work out because we had different dreams. I was expecting him to be someone that he was not, and he was also expecting me to be someone that I am not. Attending the therapy of love meetings, it just changed my mind completely. Now I have a different vision for my love life. I see my love life really as my future, because before I was more focused in my career and conquering many things. But then, what's the point if I conquer all these things and then I have no one to share with me?
Hello, a very good evening. Welcome to Finding Answers. We know that when we do this program here, we always aim to reach people who are going through problems. Now, there are problems and problems. There's problems that you deal with in your day-to-day life and eventually they go away, eventually you overcome them. However, there are those situations in life that you sometimes feel that you may not be able to overcome this problem ever. Perhaps you feel that you've tried everything you could try and you've always fallen short, you've always failed. Perhaps you've lost hope, even though they say that hope is the last thing to die, right? To go. But perhaps you've lost the hope you once had, the hope of being happy. Perhaps you stopped believing in yourself. Now, it's okay that people stop believing in you, but you can never stop believing in yourself, and maybe you have. Maybe you've become a negative person. You've went from becoming a very positive person to being someone who's negative, because how can you be positive when all you see is negative? Maybe that's your excuse. Not your excuse, but your validation for your thought. You say, listen, this is all I know for myself. I know myself as a negative person because everything that happens in my life is negative. I'm either sick, or I'm unemployed, or people are taking advantage of me, or my plans fall apart when it's just about to really come true, and maybe that's been the history of your life. And I want you to know that the living God we believe in, He's an expert in dealing with hopeless cases. The majority of people that came to Him with problems were people who had impossible cases to deal with. And if He could help them, if this God could help them, if this God could help me, if this God could help the person who's sitting here with me that you will meet later on today in this program, then He can help you. He can change your life. And the biggest mistake you can make is to think that you were born to suffer. Because you were not actually. Nobody in this world was born to suffer. Nobody in this world was born to live a miserable, disgraceful life. You were born and made in the image of God. And that already tells you what He wants for you. But if you say, James, that has been my life. My life has been that person you were talking about, that everything that is wrong, that could be wrong, just happens. I don't know what else to do to see things getting better. Perhaps you've given up on things getting better. We're going to do this part of the show before the next break really, really short, because I want to give you a chance for you to talk to someone right now, you that have given up. You know, one of the great things about the pastors of the church is that we never stop believing in you. We never stop believing that things can get better. We can see in the most hopeless cases a person who has a future. If you'd like help to overcome the problem you're going through right now, then give us a call during this break, which we'll go to in just a moment. The number to call is 020-7686-6300. That's 020-7686-6300. You can also send us an email, which myself or Victoria, who will be here with me in just a moment, can also read here throughout the program. The email address is help@findinganswers.tv. We're going to go into a short break. You that are going through these problems we mentioned, give us a call, get in contact. We're going to be doing our best to help you change your situation. We'll be right back.
Hi, the Chrissy B Show airs live on Mondays, Wednesdays and Fridays, coming to your homes with entertainment, life issues as well as hard-hitting topics, coupled with friendly and practical advice. I love to look at the happier side of life and believe a person can achieve amazing things when they put their mind to it. The Chrissy B Show, always aiming to show you the happier side of life.
When we want to reach our goals, we research, act, and make sure we know everything there is to know about that topic. We study hard because that is the intelligent thing to do. This is the same for our development as a Christian. The Faith School is designed for those who want a degree in spiritual growth, those who want to separate time to study the Holy Bible and follow God's path for their life. There is no admissions fee and it's suitable for every level of learner. You will learn how to interpret the Word of God for your daily life and become stronger internally. Do you want to find inner peace and spiritual strength? Then this course is for you. The Faith School, every Wednesday at your local UCKG Help Centre. For more information, call 020-7686-6000 or visit our website uckg.org.
Hello and welcome back to Finding Answers. Tonight our topic is obstacles to success. Now when I talk about obstacles, I could mean physical obstacles or psychological obstacles to success. So anything that really gets in your way to stop you progressing with your life. Now psychologists have identified 3 different types of obstacles. The first is external obstacles, and this is something that gets in your way that you have no control over at all, such as the economic or climate or natural disasters. The second one is internal obstacles, and that's something that you do have a direct influence over, such as time availability. And the final one, which is the interesting one for psychologists, and these are habitual obstacles. And these are things that you can produce yourself or things that have come from childhood, and these are things that you do because they are a habit, such as obstacles such as fear or trust issues, and they're the real big ones. So here's a short video that gives you a bit more detail on obstacles to success. Have you ever received great health or financial advice that you knew would positively change your life, yet took no action to implement the ideas? Have you always felt that you could achieve a higher level of success, but for some reason your plans never gain momentum? Do you get defensive and blame others if your plans fail? Have you ever wondered why? Maybe it's your psychological barriers to your success. Studies show that it's nearly impossible for the average person on their own to overcome years of limiting beliefs and negative habits which have formed the psychological and action barriers blocking their success. People are often too close to their situation and may not have the skills, tools, training, or discipline to fully diagnose and overcome their own barriers. Common psychological barriers and conditions that often exist are fear of loss, self-defeating belief systems, negative thinking, low self-esteem, fear of success, fear of failure, procrastination, and a reluctance to seek help. However, even if someone wants to overcome obstacles to success, they may not have the correct ways to overcome action barriers, such as having poor habits, limited knowledge, poor planning, inadequate support networks, and using ineffective tools. So, how can we overcome these barriers to success? Some of these may go some way to help you. Force yourself to accept compliments. Do something about your deficits. Stop waiting for the perfect time and act now. Keep reminders of your previous successes.
But here's the good news. How can you really overcome obstacles? By the power of faith. That's it. Faith overcomes any obstacle that you have. The obstacle of not speaking the language properly. That's right, I don't speak English properly, yet I'm here. My faith enables me to be here, and I don't have a problem with that. Faith overcomes any problem. Faith puts everybody on a level playing field. There's no disadvantages when you are living by faith. Faith makes a person who may not have a great education, may not have a great upbringing, to be as qualified for success as anybody else who's had a better education. By the way, it has to be said that education does not guarantee success, because there's a lot of people who have great education, Oxford degrees, and yet they do not have a proper job, they don't have satisfaction in life. So what makes the difference is faith. By faith, everything is possible. And faith is not you believing in a religion or in a church. Actually, believing in a church, in a religion, is the complete opposite of faith. That's blind madness. Forgive me, but it is. Because faith is believing in a God that is alive, and He can do things, He can change lives. A church, a religion cannot do that for you. But yet we understand that there are challenges in life. But you know the good thing about challenges is that the harder something is to achieve, the sweetest the victory tastes. Do you agree with me, Victoria?
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, once you finally overcome an obstacle that was very, very difficult or took you an awful long time to do, then yeah, you are over the moon.
Yeah, and if something is too easy, you don't value that,
no.
Right? But when something is really, really hard to achieve, then it's like you've made it.
Yeah, absolutely.
And you treasure that. It's like, you know, if you bought a car and you just needed a car to get you by for a few months, you bought the cheapest car available, that's one thing. But when you save up for 10 years to buy the car of your dream, you don't just let anybody else drive that car, right? You cherish it because it was hard. There were obstacles, but you made it, right? So you don't want to lose that. And if you are going through obstacles right now, a positive attitude, a positive thinking, way of thinking is absolutely crucial to overcome these obstacles, What do you think, Victoria?
I was thinking then the self-fulfilling prophecy. So if you have a positive mental attitude, then you are far more likely to succeed and overcome obstacles, because we have found, or psychologists have found, that having a habit of not facing your fear means that the average person actually finds it very difficult to overcome the obstacles.
And that's faith.
Possibly.
It is faith.
Okay, I believe you.
I'm telling you that it's faith. Because faith, what is faith? The Bible says that faith is believing in something that you can't see. And being positive, think about it. What is being positive? It's believing in something you can't see yet, right? You're studying, you don't have a degree yet, but you're positive you're going to have it. And you work hard for it. In a way, that's faith. But faith goes more on a supernatural level. Faith is you that think, or that were told that you would never amount to anything, that you would never succeed at anything, and yet you believe that you will. That's faith. Faith is believing in the impossible, as clear as day, without a doubt that it's going to happen. My guest here tonight knows what it is to live a life of negativity. She was a very, very negative person, very negative, and went through a lot of obstacles in life. Today she's not a negative person anymore, because she's learned to use the power of faith. Let's meet our guest here for tonight.
Pushing me for the rest of the week, so it's like a boost.
Things were really tight.
Today, the way I see myself is completely different.
Welcome back. So I have here Khatija. Khatija, am I saying your name correctly?
Yes.
She's here with me in the show tonight. Thank you for coming on the program. Khatija, what is your story? What kind of obstacles did you face before in trying to achieve your goals? How was your life before coming to the faith?
Okay, so before coming to the church, I was very depressed and I had a lot of financial issues. I was not moving anywhere. And there's a time where I was living in France and my dad got offered a job to go to Wales, to the UK. But when he went there, it's like everything that they promised him, it didn't happen. So we lost everything basically. And so my mom she resigned from her job, and my dad as well. My two brothers and me, we had to follow my parents. So we didn't have anything. We only had one option, is just go, even though we didn't have anything. When we went there, we didn't have any family at all. My mom didn't have a job. My dad didn't have a job. Me and my two brothers, we wasn't going to college or anything like that. And there was a barrier of language as well, because I lived for so many years in France that when we came to the UK, it was hard for us to, to even understand them. So
from what you're telling us, it's like your life stood still in time. It's like everybody stopped living because everybody lost their jobs. You weren't even studying. Did you feel a little bit like that, like you were stuck in time, like nothing was happening?
Yeah, it was like, I was like in in a hole basically, and I became even more depressed. And my mom became sick as well. She became very, very, very skinny. It's like she was lying on the sofa, not doing anything, crying all the time. My dad was drinking as well, heavily. And even though we would tell him, okay, Dad, you should stop now, it's not good, he wouldn't listen. So there was like something, deeper than that. And
were your parents lazy people?
No, they wasn't lazy. They just couldn't.
They were, so I know they weren't. I just asked this question on purpose because, they came here to work. Your dad was offered a job here, was promised a lot of things. When he came here, nothing like that happened. And they didn't have a job now. They got stuck in time, like we said, not because they were lazy, but because it's like all the doors were closed.
Exactly. All the doors were closed, and to the point that, like I said, my mom was sick and depressed. And even me, during the night, I was crying all the time because I was thinking, oh, my family's not even there for me, because my dad has a big family and they wasn't even at that time supporting us. My friends from France, it's like I lost connection from everything and everyone. And Yeah.
I imagine how your house was, because your dad was drinking heavily, your mom was depressed, and you were depressed. That house must have been really depressed.
Yes.
Depressing at that time. How long did you live in that situation with your parents?
It took us maybe like 3 years, maybe, because I lived in Wales for like 3 years. So, and then after things started to move forward, but not the way we wanted. So, it's on.
You're going to tell us in just a bit how things started to change, but I wanted to appeal to people at home right now who say, James, I feel exactly like that. I love my family, but it's like when I go home, there's like a dark cloud over my home. My family's wonderful, we love each other, but we're all depressed, things are going wrong, you know, we're out of work, there's money problems, and I don't know what to do anymore. I'm struggling, I really don't know what to do. If you feel like that, like Khatija's family were going through at that moment, then give us a call right now, 020-7686-6300. James, why should I call your team, your pastors? Because if the message of faith, the prayer of faith changed Khatija's life, and you'll hear that in just a moment, it can change yours as well. You can also send us an email to help@findinganswers.tv. And actually, later on in the program, Pastor Edward, who's been here in the programs recently with us, he'll be talking to us about Murphy's Law. That's a term that probably you've heard before, I had heard before, didn't know what it was, but it's very interesting what that means. He'll be explaining that to us at the end of the program. Don't go anywhere, we're going to go into a short break. In the meantime, if you want to speak to us, you that are going through that situation, no work, everything is wrong, a dark cloud over you, doors are closed, count on us to help you. 020-7686-6300. We'll be right back.
All right, real quick. Here are 4 unrelated stories, all with a common bond. First, let's go back to November 20th, 1982. For the 85th time, Cal and Stanford are involved in a heated contest. After a wild game, Stanford, led by young John Elway, takes the lead with just 4 seconds left. The Stanford fans and band are already celebrating, and why shouldn't they? The game is over. One final play begins as Stanford kicks short to Cal. A mad scramble ensues. Laterals follow near tackles, then a blind over-the-shoulder lateral. A mad race to the end zone. Down goes the Stanford trombonist as the touchdown is scored. The unthinkable happens and Cal wins. As it turns out, it wasn't over. How about this one? Meet the Lillies, Russell and Terry. It's 2001. Their 10-year marriage has been a constant source of frustration. A vicious cycle of selfishness, fighting, and isolation has left them both exhausted, angry, and done. Never mind the vows. Never mind the 2 young boys. This one is beyond hope. This marriage is over. Following their divorce, Russell becomes a follower of Christ, and Terry begins to notice the transformation taking place in Russell. Hardened hearts soften. The relationship begins to heal. Forgiveness is sought and granted. In 2007, they remarry. The one that became 2 is now 1 again. Then there's Raylene Kuferschmidt. It's January 2008. Ray suffers a cerebral hemorrhage. Declaring her brain dead, the doctors remove her breathing tubes. Knowing that it's over, the hospital releases Ray to her family so she can be taken home to die comfortably. Meanwhile, Ray's family plans her funeral. But someone forgot to tell Ray that it was over. At home, Ray suddenly wakes up. She's checked again by her doctors, who cannot believe that she's still alive, much less alert and healthy. Funeral plans have now turned into vacation plans for Ray and her family. Logically devoid of hope, legally divorced, literally dead. Everyone thought it was over. It's not the first time. Flashback almost 2,000 years. A man claiming to be the long-anticipated Messiah is unfairly accused. Offered up to the lying crowds by a Roman official, the supposed Savior is flogged, mocked, tortured, and beaten. He is nailed to a tree and crucified. He dies and is buried. Hopes that he is the Messiah fade away. It is finished. Friends scatter. Disciples hide. Evil celebrates. And for 3 days, it is over. But on the third day, there's an empty grave. Evil has lost its victory. Death has lost its sting. Suddenly, miraculously, the only thing that is now over is hopelessness. 4 stories, 1 message. It's not over, even when it's over.
Welcome back. Here's how the people of London see obstacles between you and what you want to achieve.
You know, there's no stereotype anymore.
Protect yourself, sometimes you probably do.
It will heal, but it will always...
They're humans, they have the ability to use their initiative.
Find it difficult to just be happy in this life.
Hi, I'm Victoria Edgecombe, and tonight on Finding Answers, our topic is obstacles to success. So I'm going to be asking the general public, do you think that people can ever really overcome obstacles to their success? How do you think someone can truly overcome obstacles to their success?
Well, personally, I think to overcome obstacles to success, to truly overcome obstacles to success, you just got to forget that those obstacles even exist. You just got to pretend like they're not there. Because the only obstacles you actually have are mentally. Sure, you can have like, oh, okay, some physical obstacles, but you're only making them actual obstacles because you're convincing yourself that they're obstacles. There's no actual obstacles to success. If you want to do something, just go ahead and do it. Plan how to do it and just go and do it. Simple.
More than likely just by sheer determination. You keep at it and you just keep pushing. That's about the only thing you can do, and maybe get some help from somebody who's been in that position before.
Well, if they really, really, really want to do it, they can. I gave up smoking, having smoked for 30 years or something, and I gave it up slowly. It wasn't overnight, but with slow 100% determination, 110% determination, you can do it. But it depends what it is and how strong your own personality is and so on and so forth. So I wouldn't apply it necessarily to everyone, but I did it with smoking. I guess other people can do it with other things if they put their minds to it.
I really like the story of that gentleman at the end because, he did it with smoking, and he had been smoking for many, many years. And indeed, there's a lot of things in life, a lot of obstacles, I should say, that you will overcome them if you are determined enough to say, I want to do this. And sometimes that is the key. Right, Victoria?
Am I allowed to disagree?
Of course, of course.
I sometimes think that willpower isn't enough, because I believe that some people who do smoke or do take drugs or are extremely overweight do want to lose weight or stop smoking, but they just don't have the tools to do it. They really don't know how to do it.
So if willpower is not enough, what would be lacking?
Knowledge, skills, tools, and even support systems.
So would it be a combination of both then? Because some people have the willpower, don't have the tools, others have the tools and don't have the willpower.
I honestly think that you can do it with just the tools and the knowledge and absolutely no willpower at all, but that's a bit controversial.
Okay, that's
I've been reading interesting. A few books lately.
No, but it's actually important you say that, because we don't have to agree all the time, right? No, it's important because your view is not necessarily my view, and some of the points we raise on this program are not always discussed prior to us starting to do the program live here. It's actually the first time we disagree on something, and it's good because great minds don't always think alike, right? But I personally think that willpower is very important, and for most things. And this is the point I wanted to make, because willpower is important, in my view, for most things, but is not enough for everything. And that's possibly where we have a line of agreement there, because I think willpower will not allow you to overcome every problem you have. I certainly think that willpower does not make a person get out of depression. Willpower is not the tool or the one thing you need to overcome a certain problem that you may have. On the other hand, I do believe 100% that faith is the one thing that can overcome every single problem. Of course, there are problems that you may not need faith, because that's why doctors are there, that's why physicians are there, science is there, but where that limit ends, that's where faith comes in. Now, we're going to go back to Khatija's story. Khatija, you were saying to us that you were living in a house where your dad was drinking, you were depressed, and your mom was depressed. At one point, things started to slowly progress. I mean, was that the end of your sorrows, or there were more problems coming after that?
For that particular problem, it was like the end, basically. Well, it was changing slowly, and actually I found the church through a friend of mine, and they invited me, and I came, and I thought, wow, I learned about God and how to use my faith, and I actually felt that I had hope, basically, to change.
When you came to the church, were you still depressed at that time?
Yes, I was depressed. I had many complexes and insecurities and all that. But when I came, the more I was coming, you know, I was speaking to the pastors, to the assistant. They advised me to make a chain of prayer. And the more I was coming, I saw like, wow, the depression was gone. And my financial life was moving forward. I was having jobs where I didn't have any qualification or experience. And yeah, so
it's like, I mean, do you think that you would have been able to even apply for those jobs had you not been in the faith?
No. I was applying for jobs, for the basic jobs, and I wasn't even, I was always receiving a no. But when I came, you know, to the church, it was different. And
how was the process of being free from the depression? Tell us about how you overcame that.
Well, I made a chain of prayer. I came regularly, and you know, the more I was coming, the more I learned how to use my faith, and God was just, you know, taking it away from me. And yeah, it wasn't overnight, obviously. It took time, but yeah.
How are you today, and how is your life in general today after learning all this time how to use your faith? How have things changed?
Well, I'm no longer depressed. I don't have those complexes anymore, and my mom is healed. She's healthy. She looks healthy. My dad is no longer drinking. My little brother graduated in university, and they all have jobs as well. And I have a good job as well. So, yeah. So
you went from being all your family was like stopped in time, right? To now everybody's life has changed virtually.
Yeah, moving forward.
That's great. And I mean, if there are people who are or who are now in the situation that you were before, what would you tell them?
To not give up, to do what I do, to do what I did, to come to the church, and to speak to someone as well, and to make the chain of prayer, to use their faith, and because things can change, just like mine. My life is changing, and change. This can change too.
Okay, thank you very much. And you know, life would be very dull, very boring if we had no challenges, no obstacles. I know that when we're going through them, it's hard, it's difficult. But the moment you decide to face those obstacles and to overcome them, you know, and use your faith to do so, it's only a matter of time until you overcome them, right? Some take longer than others. And the important thing is that with every problem you face, every challenge you face, every obstacle you face, you learn something, right? I remember that a couple of years ago I was organizing an event, and I was a little bit out of my depth because I had never done that before, and it was very stressful. To say that there were a lot of challenges is an understatement. There were great challenges. It was really tough. But then when I did again that same sort of organization of event a couple of years later, it was like a walk in the park almost. Still a little bit of stress, but a lot easier. Because if you don't go through stressful situations, challenges, then you never learn. Actually, we human beings, we are always evolving, always having an opportunity to get better and stronger. And that's where the challenges come in. We shouldn't sidestep them. We should face them head on. We're going to go into our final break. When we come back, Pastor Edward will be here with me. We're going to be speaking. He's going to be telling us about this thing of Murphy's Law that he was just telling me about tonight. Until earlier, I thought that Murphy's Law was a TV show. Apparently, it's a little bit more than that. He's going to be telling us all about it. We'll be right back.
Most people, they raise a family, they earn a living, and then they die. They stop growing, they stop working on themselves, they stop stretching, they stop pushing themselves. That a lot of people like to complain, but they don't want to do anything about their situation. And most people don't work on their dreams. Why? One is because of fear. The fear of failure. What if things don't work out? And the fear of success. What if they do and I can't handle it? These are not risk takers. The people that are living their dream are finding winners to attach themselves to. The people that are living their dreams are the people that know that if it's going to happen, it's up to them.
I dare you to invest time. I dare you to be alone. I dare you to spend an hour getting to know yourself. When you become who you are, when you become the person that you were created to be, designed to be who you were designed to be, when you become an individual, what you do is you take yourself and you start separating yourself from other people. I challenge you to get to a place where people don't like you, it don't even bother you no more. Why? Because you're not concerned with trying to make them happy, because you're trying to blow up. You're trying to get to the next level. I need you to invest in your mind. Invest in your mind. If you still talk about your dream, if you still talk about your goal, but you have not done anything, just take the first step.
You can live your dream.
Welcome back. So I have my colleague here, Pastor Edward. Good evening, Pastor Edward.
Good evening.
How are you?
Good, good.
You were talking to us about this thing of Murphy's Law. I mean, for me, I remember there was a Murphy's Law show, I think. Apart from that, I didn't know anything else about it. Tell us about what's that all about?
Well, basically, it's a concept. It's widespread in some countries, Brazil, America, probably here too, some people will relate to it, that basically this law says if there's anything that can possibly go wrong, it will. So basically...
That sounds very negative.
Yes, it's what this law says. And there are people that their constant failure, leads them to say, oh, in my life, Murphy's Law always applies. I'm not even going to try because I already know it's not going to work. So as we were talking about, it's a little bit of what we were talking about yesterday, that, okay, it's not realistic to think that things have always to, work out fine and perfectly, but it's also not acceptable that for a person things will always go wrong. And finding out about spiritual problems is something crucial to many people watching us right now to get to the solution.
Just like things don't always go right, things shouldn't always go wrong, right? But like you were saying, for some people, they have that feeling that it goes wrong so often that it always feels like it is going wrong.
But sorry to cut you off, but when it comes to physical things, people usually do not think and act like that. If they have a constant headache, for instance, they're going to do something about it. They're going to try to get help, right? If they, their heart is racing every day, something's wrong with their heart, they get suspicious that it's something serious. It could be a heart, they could be on the verge of a heart attack. So they want to get their blood checked. They're going to do something about it. But unfortunately, when it comes to other aspects of life or even spiritual things, people just think, well, this is just bad luck. This is probably the way it's going to be. And basically, take it as it is and do nothing about it.
Unfortunately, Pastor Edward, people resort to faith as the last door, right? They first try everything else. And actually, faith should be the first door. But we understand why it is the last door for many people because, I don't know for you, I don't know your story very well, Pastor Edward. We recently are getting to know each other because you just came here from the US, but I know that faith was the last resort for me and my family. When we had tried everything to solve my mother's nervous breakdown and her illnesses and my parents' broken marriage, after we've tried everything and everything had failed, then we tried faith. Was this the same thing for you?
Yes, it was. And I think that it has to do, honestly, with a little bit of a prejudice. Faith, unfortunately, has received this negative connotation, I would say.
Negative press.
Yes, where people associate faith to prayer. Like, because I have faith. I prayed about it. I went to a church. I went to a place of worship. I have a religion. They associate faith with religion and faith with prayer. When, as a matter of fact, the faith, at least the one we're talking about here, has nothing to do with religion And prayer plays a role in faith. We could say it's a piece of the puzzle. It's crucial, but it's not. Faith is not only prayer, right? We would say that faith has much more to do with a decision. You know, deciding that I can confront my problems. You know, I'm trying to do it on my own. It's not working. So I need to associate myself with a higher power. We're talking about God. And by getting closer to Him, which is not about getting religious, but, you know, learning some concepts and practicing them. And this works. So I had to learn that. As a matter of fact, it was the same, because I had this idea, you know, faith has to do, I don't want to be a religious person. I was. And I was disappointed with religion because it didn't work, at least for me. We're not, with all the respect to those who have a religion or who are religious. But to me, it didn't work.
And you know, the interesting thing is that we don't see Jesus praying for the sick. So you see, faith is not really, like you said, prayer is a crucial part of communication with God. But when Jesus saw the sick, He told them, pick up your bed and walk. Which sounds silly because he's in a bed because he can't walk, right? When he saw the man who was blind, he laid hands on his eyes. He didn't really pray. And this is very important. But I think it's important we tell people at home that faith is like a doctor's treatment. The longer you put it off, the more you are, putting off your recovery. The change of your life. Ideally, if you have symptoms of some kind of illness, you should go to the doctor straight away. And why should people put off coming to God? Because maybe they have tried doctors, they have tried, they've tried everything. Those self-help tapes that they play in their cars, they've tried seminars. I know there are people who have this habit of going to all these kind of seminars, thinking that they will find a nugget of gold in terms of knowledge that will solve their problem. And it doesn't happen like that, because faith is something that can bring you the solution to whatever difficult situation you're going through.
And you know, we were talking about the work of Jesus, right? We're talking about Jesus and what He did. What He did was not to offer prayers. Actually, He offered solutions, right? To the sick, to people who were depressed, bound, spiritually oppressed. He came with a solution, as you said, most of the time without even praying, just with the power of, speaking and encouraging people to confront their problems head on, right, without fear, teaching that there are negative spiritual forces out there. We have to understand that, yes, it's true, evil exists. There are forces out there that are out to get us. But the good news is that through our belief in Him, we can confront these forces, as you were saying in the previous segment, head on, without being afraid, and see a lot of results. I have never seen someone who came to Him asking for help and left the same way they came, unless they didn't agree with Him or didn't do what He said.
So we have a lot of people who are struggling in their life with this Murphy's Law that you mentioned. People who say, look, if whatever could go wrong has gone wrong in my life. Let me tell you something. Tonight, we are not going to bless the water in the prayer. Tonight, we're going to do something different. I will, during this prayer, stretch my hands to the camera. And I'd like you who believe, I'd like you there in your house, in your workplace, wherever you are, I want you to touch with your hand on your TV set, on your computer, wherever you're watching us now. And don't worry if you've never done this before, because by faith, it's as if we will be holding hands together. We are in different places right now, but I'll be stretching my hand to the camera like this. And there where you are, you'll be touching the TV, you'll be touching your computer, your phone, whatever it is. And we are going to determine that if things were going wrong constantly, from now on, they will start to go right. And you were not born to suffer. You were not born for Murphy's Law. There is a law that is high above Murphy's. Right?
That's right.
It's the law of God.
Yeah, and we can reject this law. That's faith, right? For instance, I can reject that things will continuously go wrong for me. I can decide that I'm going to put my life in a new path, right?
And actually, this law should not be called Murphy's Law, Pastor Edward. This law should be called Job's Law. Because Job in the Bible said, the thing I most feared came upon me, right? It's like he lived in fear, and exactly what he feared came upon him is what Murphy's Law says. Oh, if something that can go wrong will go wrong. Job was like this. The thing he feared happened to him. That's a negative faith. We're going to switch things right now. We're going to teach you now through the prayer, together united in faith, we are going to use our positive faith. We will unite our hands together. And when we determine your healing, your freedom, the transformation of your life, the change of direction in your life, things are going to change. Let's get ready for the prayer right now.
Prepare now for the moment of prayer. If you would like a prayer concerning your financial life, send your name and prayer request to prayer@findinganswers.tv.
My Lord, in the name of the Lord Jesus, this prayer goes out to all those who have lived to accept a life of defeat. Those who have accepted this so-called Murphy's Law. Those who have not even become surprised anymore when things go wrong. There are people that when tragedies happen, when something negative happens, they're not even surprised anymore. Because that's so, it happens so often in their life that they think this has become a normality. But my Lord, right now, as I stretch my hands towards this camera, and this person is touching their TV set, their computer, their phone, where they are watching this program, by faith, it's as if we're holding hands, uniting our faith right now. And I believe in you, my God. I believe you make all things new because you said it yourself. You said that you make all things new so you can make the sick to be well. You can make the depressed to recover. You can make the blind to see again. You can make the one who is hopeless to feel hopeful. You can change this life. As we unite our faith together, my God, I determine that after this prayer, this person will be able to do the things that they couldn't do before. If they couldn't move properly, if they couldn't stand properly, if they couldn't get out of their house, if they couldn't go and deal with the problems, the challenges that they had before, they will be able to do all this. Because you are the God of new things. I determine the transformation in the life of this person in the name of the Father, the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. And you who are there, wherever you are, in your house, in your workplace, in your car, say amen. Believe that the change has started in Jesus' name. Amen. Pastor Edward was saying something interesting before we started the prayer. He said that this Job's law, because he said, what I feared has come upon me. It was very negative, but he changed this law.
Yes, through his faith, right? Through his faith, what sometimes people think, oh, it's so unfair. How could God allow that to happen to Job? And Job didn't think it was unfair. In the end of his story, he says, before I only knew you by what people told me about you, but now my eyes see you. In other words, that experience, that challenge, which actually, according to scholarships of the Bible, only lasted for, a short period of time, led him to be a much stronger person. He had a new family, he was a much stronger man and happier after than before.
And actually, many people are like this. They only know God from what they hear, but they've never seen His power. If you want to see His power, it's time to use your faith. We hope that this program has helped you. We'll be back again with you tomorrow with a very, very special program. Tomorrow, very, very special. Wednesday is our Wednesday special, right? If we can call it so. And we're looking forward to the program tomorrow. Don't miss it. Until then, have a wonderful night. May God bless you.
Bye.